Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Devotions. Pastor Steve here walking with you in Nehemiah chapter 7. Nehemiah chapter 7. The wall has been built. The temple has been restored. The people have been lifted up within their faith. And now they're protected by these walls from the outside nations. But what's missing within the town? You got the temple, you got the people, you got the walls. Where are the people staying? Isn't that amazing of how the reality of getting the priorities straight, of being able to say they need their relationship with God, they need their understanding of what the God's direction is in the building of their faith, and then they need protection from the outside nations, but they haven't even built their homes yet within Jerusalem. And they were okay with that. How were they living? How were they staying? Well, these are people, nomad people, that know how to endure the times. They wandered in the desert for 40 years, at least their ancestors did. But as they come back from exile, this is now where Nehemiah puts his eyes on Jerusalem and says, what's next? And what a beautiful push for us in our devotions of being able to say, what's next? Our relationship with God, he's building our faith. We're protected by him. We have a secure faith that if God is for us, who can be against us, even though the opposition will be at the door. And you have to be ready for that. And Nehemiah readies this nation for that. But what does it look like then to be able to actually live in our homes? What does it look like to, in that security, in that faith, in that presence of God, to bring that into our homes and build up our homes that way? And so that's what Nehemiah chapter 7 is really getting at. A lot of names of the exiles coming forth, so I'm going to kind of blaze through that pretty quickly. But here's the setup, again, of Nehemiah saying, what's next? We have the presence of God. We have the worship of God, the building up of faith, and security of God. Now, what does it look like to have homes filled with that presence and that faith? Chapter 7, beginning at verse 1, it says, After the wall had been rebuilt, and I had set the doors in place, the gatekeepers and the singers and the Levites were appointed. I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hanani, along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most men do. I said to them, The gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot. While the gatekeepers are still on duty, have them shut the doors and bar them. Also, appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some at their posts and some near their own homes. Now, the city was large and spacious, but there were few people in it, and the houses had not yet been rebuilt. So my God put it into my heart to assemble the nobles, officials, and the common people for registration by families. I found the genealogical record of those who had been the first to return. This is what I found written there. These are the people of the province who came up from the captivity of the exiles, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had taken captive. They returned to Jerusalem and Judah, each to his own town, in company with Zerubbabel, Jeshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Remiah, Nahamani, Mordecai, Bilshan, Mispereth, Bigvai, Nahum, and Banah. The list of men of Israel, and then it goes through the men of Israel. The men of Bethlehem, verse 26, Bethlehem. The descendants of Jediah, the Levites, the singers, the gatekeepers, the temple servants, the servants of Solomon, verse 57. As we get to see that the whole company, as we see, okay, the people of Israel, then the people of Bethlehem, and Netopha, which is Judah. And so we just want to build this back up again and being able to understand Israel being that northern kingdom before it was taken into exile from the Assyrians going up north, but then Judah also being that kingdom to the south. And as we get to see the Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and that's the kind of Judah and Benjamin tribes are those down. And those were taken off into Babylon. Well, they're returning, so you get to see these are the first returnees as we get to see their names marked on the page here. So descendants, priests, singers, servants, temple servants, descendants of Jeshua, all these kind of factions and different places. I'm going to pick it up in verse 64. These searched for their family records, but they could not find them, and so were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. The governor therefore ordered them to eat any of the most sacred food until there should be a priest ministering with Urim and Thummim. And so that's picking up on verse 63, and from the priests. But if you weren't listed there, you weren't necessarily brought in. They were excluded from the priesthood as unclean. They were not listed, and so they would not have been priests at that time. Verse 66, the whole company numbered 42,360, besides their 7,337 men servants and maid servants. And they also had 245 men and women singers. That's a pretty awesome choir. There were 736 horses, 245 mules, 435 camels, and 6,720 donkeys. Some of the heads of the families contributed to the work. The governor gave to the treasury 1,000 drachmas of gold, 50 bowls, and 530 garments for priests. Some of the heads of the families gave to the treasury for the work 20,000 drachmas of gold and 2,200 minas of silver. The total given by the rest of the people was 20,000 drachmas of gold, 2,000 minas of silver, and 67 garments for priests. The priests, the Levites, the gatekeepers, the singers, and the temple servants, along with certain of the people and the rest of the Israelites, settled in their own towns. And so we get to see spacious and ready for homes within Jerusalem, but also kind of dispersing again. That Jerusalem was a hub, but there's towns around it. That's where we're talking about Bethlehem, we're talking about Bethsaida, we're talking about Bethany, we're talking about all those towns that even exist. Not so much today, but when we get to read through the scriptures, they were all around Jerusalem, little suburbs that they were. But here, once again, just kind of finalizing of being able to say, Nehemiah had put it on his heart of being able to say, look what we have within the city, but look at the people of God. And how can they walk forward with the understanding of what does it look like to have God's presence, faith building, and protection within the homes of the people. And so as they devoted back to their homes, not just building things within Jerusalem, but building up their homes in the fear and in the provision and the security and the faith and the presence of God. Ask yourself that question. Is that what my home is built upon? Is it built upon the presence of God? Is it built upon the faithfulness of God? Is it built upon the security, not a security alarm, but the security of God, knowing that this home is devoted towards the Lord? And as that home is devoted towards the Lord, that's where you raise children and grandchildren. That's where you bring in friends and neighbors. And may you witness to the presence and the faithfulness and the security of God within your homes. And use your homes as that incredible mission and gospel message to everyone that enters in. Pray over your homes. I'm praying over your homes and your families. And on this day, may you have a blessed time as you wake up, as you go to sleep, as you live life within your homes, but your homes devoted towards the Lord. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Have a blessed day.